May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Cuke Audio podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, doing our bit to help preserve the legacy of Shunryu Suzuki and those whose paths cross his, and anything else that comes to mind. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable, free from economic problems, and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So today we have two guests, Jane Schneider and her husband, Peter Schneider. They're the teachers and the founders of the Beginner's Mind Zen Center in Northridge, like part of L.A., in sunny Southern California. Their website, which I will state right now so as not to forget it, is beginnersmindzencenter.org. All run together, beginnersmindzencenter.org. And, as you will learn right as we start out, is that I called them up, not intending to make a podcast talk. I just called them up with my earplugs on downstairs, and because I wanted to ask Jane about her, how she got into Zen and all that. So that's how it starts, and that goes on for a while. And then she and Peter and I talk, and about various things, mainly about Zen Center history and stuff, because that was the purpose of my call. But this is maybe the third podcast with them, or I'm not sure. But I did one or two very early on, like 5 years ago, where I just called Peter and asked him some questions, but then Jane later, so I'm not sure. But it will be listed, whatever there is with them will be listed on the podcast page on Cuke.com and on each of their Cuke pages. They have separate Cuke pages. So the scope of this is very narrow. Like if you listen to the other podcasts with them, our podcast material with them and what's on Cuke.com, you'll see like they were in Japan for 20 years. And Peter, they've got quite an interesting history. So when you hear the bell, if you're of such a mind, hit pause and meditate or whatever for as long as you wish. And when you're ready to come back, hit unpause, and we'll be here to hit the bell to end the meditation or whatever, and we'll give Jane and Peter Schneider a call.
Okay, David, here we are.
Here we are. Jane?
Yeah.
I'm just finishing up a book called Tassajara Stories. And, you and Peter are in it. And I have a ton of background on him, but I don't know any background on you. All I know is that you and Bill Lane drove from Seattle to San Francisco, and you went and heard, and you went and heard that Charlotte Selver Suzuki Roshi thing. And Bill ended up at Tassajara within a couple of months, or 2 or 3.
What happened was, I was living in Seattle and I was looking for a teacher. And I used to go over to the free school and sit and talk to them in the evenings. And they said there's a teacher. There's a Zen master down in San Francisco. So then I heard about a bus was going down to join in the anti-war march through San Francisco. And so I signed up for it to go down there. And then I met Bill Lane sitting in the office, and he said he was on his way to Japan because he wanted to study in a temple. And I told him, well, there's a master just down in San Francisco. If we go down there, you might get the same thing without having to go to Japan. So he changed his mind and came down on the bus. And we got to San Francisco and joined the march to the city, which was interesting. And when it was finished, I went over to Sokoji, and the door was open, and I walked up to the second floor because I didn't see anything. And then the office door of Suzuki Roshi was open, and he was sitting at his desk, and I asked him, could I come in? He said, sure, come in. And I sat and talked to him about why I wanted to study Buddhism. And he was really sympathetic. And he said, let's try to sit right now. And I had no idea what he was talking about. But I went into the Zendo room and sat with him. He arranged my posture and all, and then he sat next to me. And I didn't know how long we sat, but I was so self-conscious. I thought it was really long, and I'm sure it was no more than 5 minutes. And afterwards, we got up, and he went back to his office, and I left. And when I got to the door, he said, I hope I'll see you again. And I thought, yeah, I do too. And I left and caught the bus to go back up to Seattle, and I didn't see Bill, so he may have been mixing with people still. Anyway, I went back up to Seattle, and my job there was working in a preschool. And I gave my notice, and then I made my plans to leave and go down to San Francisco. And I took a bus down there, and that was such a long ride. Yeah. But when we passed Mount Shasta, I was just amazed. It was so beautiful. And I got to San Francisco and went over to Sokoji, and I saw Dick Baker. And he said, well, nobody's here right now, or everybody's over at Charlotte Selwood's place. So I went over there, I think, with him. And there was this big crowd, and I was kind of intimidated. I had no idea what to do. And I saw Bill Lane was there. So I sat down in the group where everybody was. And Charlotte Selwood was talking about everybody just look at the things that are sitting in front of you. And I want you to see the power in each one. And I looked at things like a bowl or a broken bowl, or I forget what was there. But then I got to a plastic red ball. And no matter how much I tried, I couldn't see it as something powerful. And that was like a koan,
Yeah.
And they really stuck in my head. I'm going to see this red plastic thing as something wonderful. It stuck with me for years. And when I was up here and people were here, one of the men who was an artist in his own right, a poet, he said he noticed that in my paintings, every painting I had, there was a red ball in it, which I had never noticed. So then he went through every painting and showed me, and every painting there was a red ball.
That's interesting. Who was he?
Yeah, that was
Who was he?
I forget. He's a very interesting man, married to a Mexican woman. What was his name?
He's a poet, Richard Weekly.
Richard Weekly. He wrote some beautiful poems.
And he joined our group, and then he published his own Zen poems.
Oh.
And they were quite good.
Oh.
Anyway, go back to you're back with Charlotte Silver and what?
Yeah, and so then I went back to the city center, and Dick said I could live in the houses next door. I could join the people in the houses and pay the rent with them, split the rent. So I went over to the house, and the first one I went into, they said, sure, you can stay here. I think Sally Morton was there, and Jim Morton. I don't know if Jim Morton was there or not. I think he wasn't, just Sally Morton.
Sally Block.
Sally Block, yeah. She was Sally Block then. And at some point, about a week later, Reb Anderson came.
Oh,
and,
wait a minute. Reb Anderson came in 1968.
Yeah.
And
well, Jim lived in the city then too, so maybe that's mixed up.
I was living there for a while before he came.
Yeah, like a year.
Yeah, and I was cleaning apartments to make a living so that I could adjust my time any way I wanted, so I could sit, sessions when they came up over in Sokoji.
Yeah.
But then Reb came, and he lived in the front apartment because it was the biggest and the most expensive one. I was in the city center. I got there 67.
But how in a month? Was it what month was that? That you entered?
It was early spring because I remember it was hot in the day and freezing at night.
Okay.
Well, a Reb might have come 6 months later or something like that. I don't remember. I remember when he first arrived, I was in from Tassajara. Ooh. I
remember when he first arrived because when I first came home from work, Deborah Madison was in there sitting, and he was lying in a bed covered and looking sickly. And she said he'd almost drowned in the ocean.
You've heard that story, haven't you?
Reb Madison said about Reb.
Oh, you know the story. No, Reb was swimming in the bay by himself, and he got caught in the current and being pulled out to sea.
Oh man, that can sure happen. Boy, can that happen here? A lot of people get lost here from that.
So he had a mild crisis when I first saw him.
Wow.
And then he recovered. He was very funny.
Wow.
And so one night we were all standing in the hall laughing about something and talking really loud. And Reb must have been trying to get to sleep because he got up, and suddenly we turned around and this very grim looking person came down the hall looking at us, and finally he said, Jane, would you mind not talking so loud? Or Jane, would you mind turning off the vacuum cleaner? We were making thousands of noises, and he picked one funny little inconspicuous noise.
Oh, that's funny.
And we all ended up laughing really hard. We were all cleaning up our rooms. Anyway, I was having fun there, a lot of fun. And then Dick said, would you like to go down to
No, Dick mixed up again, because remember, Reb was not there yet. You were living on
Bush.
On Bush.
Yeah.
But you've been there a short time when Dick and when Tassajara opened. And then Dick told you, or someone, I don't know if Dick or not, but how'd you get Tassajara? Not by car, but
by car.
But who?
Dick did.
Dick did, yeah.
So do you want to go down? We're all working for the opening of Tassajara, and I didn't really know what that meant, but I was happy to do it. So I said, sure. And I drove down with people who were going down. And I was just amazed at the mountains. And then we got down there, and I roomed with Nancy Leigh.
We'll talk about when they first came in.
And Noah.
Yeah.
Even Noah was really cute. He used to climb into the bag with Nancy and just stick his nose out. He was really cute. And
who's the first person you met at Tassajara?
oh, I met Peter as the first person I met at Tassajara.
Ta-da!
When we got down there, everybody was standing around talking, and so I just walked on down to the gate, and Peter was at the gate, and I swear, when he looked at me, he got a flash in his face like he was really happy to see me. And so I said, oh, I like him too. And then after that, you know, we all lived together, and I froze at night. Dick said, don't worry, you just go to sleep at night here. You just need a light blanket. And so I woke up at 3. It's so cold I didn't want to even get up and get another blanket.
Yeah.
I needed a sleeping bag. And it was very hot in the daytime, but at night it was surprising. Nancy was a very nice roommate to have.
So, you were there for the opening. Did you stay for the practice period?
I did. I stayed for the next 2 practice periods.
Oh, you mean you were there for the summer practice period, and then you were there for the next spring?
No, for the fall.
For the fall practice period.
Yeah.
That was the one that ended up at New Year's. Kobachita was there, and he taught everyone how to make mochi, and Paul made this big wooden pestle, and we started pounding with the hammers, you know, to make mochi.
And I was turning it.
Yeah.
I was the turner.
And we were having fun pounding it, and then, but it was picking up. It was a type of wood that was so soft, it was picking up little splinters to the whole thing.
Oh.
So the rice came out full of tiny little red splinters.
Oh, that's funny. Now, I've heard people say that at the New Year's Eve party that Suzuki Roshi was there.
He was, and I was his Jisha at that time. That was the next year, because I was his Jisha then.
Well, the next year.
Yeah, the year after. I was his Jisha when we had the party, and I was sitting across from him in the table, and he kept pouring my cup full of sake, and so I kept drinking it. But every time I finished it and put it down, he'd fill it up again. And so I kept drinking to the point where I was feeling really terrible. And Dick came over at one point and said, Jane, you should drink that much. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to insult Suzuki Roshi, so I kept drinking whatever he poured. And later on, someone told me, well, you know, the Japanese custom is, if you don't want more, you just don't finish the drink. You leave it with sake in it.
Right. I know.
The next day, I woke up with a terrible hangover. In fact, I was so out of it that I got lost on my way back to the cabin, and Dick came along and took me to my cabin because I didn't know where it was.
Well, this is that night.
Yeah.
At that night. Yeah. Not next morning, but
yeah.
At that night. Yeah.
That night, yeah. And then the next morning when I got up, I had a really terrible hangover. And I went to the door to get to the Suzuki, and I looked awful, and he said, you look terrible. And I said, I have a hangover. And he said, maybe you shouldn't drink so much.
Yeah.
And I was kind of pissed about that.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Well, that was my first lesson. And don't guide your conscience in life by what you do, by what other people do.
Yeah.
And at that point, I totally did. So.
Yeah.
So I'm beginning to learn that stuff.
Wow. That's really good. That's really good. Yeah, I was in Texas for that party because I hadn't gone back the previous year. So, but I heard Suzuki Roshi danced with a lampshade on his head.
I missed that. I'm so sorry I missed that.
Tim and Tim Buckley and myself, and I guess Dan Welch, and I think it was that Danish guy.
Yeah, I think it was too.
Yeah,
Danish guy. Wait a minute.
Yeah, Niels.
Oh no, he wasn't there. Yes, he was. Okay. Yes, he was.
So we had this band.
Yeah.
And we had turned over. I was playing the bass, and the bass would have one of the. There was we used to wash our clothes outside, and somehow there was a hole in one of those containers, and so we had a drumstick and a rope and a string going down, and I played that, and we did rock and roll songs together.
It really was good.
Yeah.
It was so terrific. Good. I was really amazed.
And the next morning, Suzuki Roshi said to me, I had no idea you could do that. And of course, I'd never done it before. I never did it again.
Yeah, this is the one.
That's funny.
Said to me, everybody has to do something at this party. That's what Japanese do. So Lori and I did a Tai Chi Chuan together.
Ah.
I found out he did it too, so we went through the form of it.
Huh.
And I'm surprised now when I think back on it. We stayed together for the whole thing. Anyway, it was a wonderful party, and it would have been even better if I hadn't drunk.
Yeah. How did it? I mean, the New Year's Eve things frequently go all night. Did it go all night?
No,
because
it wasn't New Year's party.
What?
I left before it was over.
This wasn't the New Year's party.
Oh.
And
This is the end of session party. Yeah. Maybe it was in December, perhaps. I'm not sure. Probably was. But anyway.
Well, I don't remember it, and I was there for that session.
Well, then it's another session now.
No. There was only one in the fall of 1967. And there's mochi. That's New Year's.
Yeah, that was at New Year's. Yeah, but that was not with Jane. That was not the party when we had the band and Jane did Tai Chi. That was a different time.
Oh,
but it was the first party. It was the first party. But yes, we sat until close to midnight, and then we made the mochi, and then we I think we mostly sat up all night. That first New Year's Eve.
Well,
I think we only made that was
me.
the only time
I folded up and went to bed early. I never heard the rest of it. Oh, sorry. It was.
And I lost all my fingernails, so fingernails were in the mochi as well.
Oh my God.
Well.
It was still fun too.
I don't think you sat all night because I've heard about mochi and sake and Suzuki Roshi dancing with a lampshade on his head.
I think that was the
one where I did the Tai Chi.
Yeah, that was the party. That wasn't the New Year's Eve.
Well, when was that?
The New Year's Eve was with Copacino when we.
Yeah, I'm not even sure Suzuki Roshi was there, actually, for that. But anyway, Coben led it. Coben taught us how to do it.
Yeah.
And Paul had made the thing to do it with. And Coben taught us how to do it. And we sat for a while, and we made mochi, and then we went on for several hours.
After the mochi came out, we'd sit on the side and make little cakes with it, which was funny because it had all these splinters.
And we had it. We ate it, yeah.
Yeah, we ate it all.
Yeah. Now, Jane, when you had the mochi on that New Year's Eve, was that when you drank too much sake?
No, that was before the party, this mochi thing. I don't recall having sake at all when we were doing mochi.
I don't think we did either. That wasn't a drinking. They may have had it later, but at that party, I don't think we drank.
Well, all right, Peter. Do you remember playing the kazoo with a band at a party with Suzuki Roshi there?
Well, maybe that's what I did. I thought it was the bass. Well, it could have been.
You were the bass.
I heard the bass. Because it was it wasn't a. I said it was a thing for washing your clothes. That was not correct. It was a garbage can, because on the garbage can was written "Unburnables."
Yeah, that was Ed Meg's wedding in 1970 in the summer.
Yes, and so we called ourselves the Unburnables.
Right, I was with you.
Good.
I was with you on
that.
I
thought you.
Yeah, it was really funny.
I thought you were one of the persons there.
Yeah, well, that was Ed Meg's wedding.
Was it really?
Yeah, and you were on the kazoo. I thought.
Okay.
Because, and I do remember that Suzuki Roshi said to you, I didn't know you could play that, and then you gave it to him and he played it.
Oh, really?
But so you probably did the bass and the kazoo.
No.
Because Craig was on drums, and Lou Richmond had a keyboard there.
Oh, I don't remember the keyboard.
Yeah, Lou Richmond had a keyboard. Oh, that's interesting. And that is, Jane, that is when you drank too much, because I already had that story. And that's 1970.
Yeah, I was so wasted at that party, I had to leave.
I think it was before then.
Yeah.
I had never drunk sake.
All right.
It was before then.
All right.
I had never drunk sake before.
I think that was in the first. I mean, I think Jane went to the city and then she came back, and so it would have been either before she.
In 1970, Peter and I got together.
Yeah, that was not when we were together.
I was in the women's dorm,
and wasn't there either.
And he just came in one night.
Wait. 19. When did you all get together?
I think 1970.
Winter of 1970.
Oh, you say winter of 1970. Oh,
yeah, because I was living in the women's dorm over the dining room.
1970, yes. Women were in the dorm, right. Okay. Far out. All right.
And that's how we got together. Peter just opened the door one night when I was asleep.
And then I lived there, David, for 2 weeks.
And he said,
the women's dorm.
He said, "Can I come in?" And I said, "Sure."
And after I was in there during that time,
Dr.
came in looking for Jane too.
Far out. All right.
He saw Peter throw his hands up in the air.
And then, so after a couple of weeks, someone, I don't know who, they came to us and said, "You got to move out of the dorm," and they gave us a cabin.
Paul said that.
Paul said that?
Okay.
Yeah.
He said, "That's not right for you to be staying here in the women's dorm." He was right, actually. So we went. We had a cabin, and that was the first time we were actually living together.
So we lived together in the dorm, not the cabin.
I know. The dorm was illegal.
I slept with Daya a lot. And, Suzuki Roshi told me that he since I was going to be ordained, he wanted me to be celibate for 5 years. And I said, are you kidding? I said, oh no, he just said, I don't want you to have a girlfriend for 5 years, the way he said it. I said, I've got a girlfriend right now, Diane, and she and I are sleeping together here a lot. And he just said, don't tell me. Just don't tell me. And he never brought that up again.
Yeah, he read that book that Katagiri had given him by Hashimoto, I think.
What's so funny about it?
That's what prompted that whole thing. What was that book, David?
I had asked Suzuki Roshi about having a boyfriend. What do you think about that? And he said, well, you shouldn't have one until you practice more, and then it's okay. But doing it when you're on practice is not a good idea. And then not long after that, Peter showed up in my room.
Yeah.
I never.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I ever felt about that.
Yeah. Yeah. He couldn't control that. He gave up on that. He didn't know what to do about it.
He gave up on it.
It's more like that now. People nowadays at Zen Center, I just know from talking to people, I just did a podcast with a young woman that was really had a very close relationship with this guy, but I said, and it became a thing that the officers were talking about. I said, well, what, did you sleep together? Did you have sex? She said, oh no, there's no place to do that. We can't do that there. I went, what? Are you kidding? But she had to leave just because they were getting too emotionally involved, and it was very disturbing to her. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. Well, that's very interesting, Jane.
I think.
Go, yeah.
What? I was going to say, I think they're really wrong about that because Peter and I started a relationship in that place, in Tassajara, and we've gone for 52 years now with it.
Yeah. Yeah, some of them lasted, some of them didn't. Well, Jane, now when you first met Suzuki Roshi, you told him why you were interested in Buddhism, why you wanted to practice or whatever. What did you tell him? Why did you?
I told him that I was very much afraid of death. I couldn't stop thinking about it and, about how we all live a life and do things and struggle. And then the only thing at the end is to just die, and I couldn't see any reason in it. Could he have and he said, let's just go sit. There was nothing to say. I just told him all my fears, when I went down, why I was just struggling all the time with living.
Yeah, and he didn't, he didn't say anything?
No, he said, let's go sit. I talked until I just ran out of words.
Yeah.
And he just sat there and he said, let's go sit. And I think
that's good.
That was the best way for me.
Yeah.
Because if I'm ever repressed, I can always find words.
Yeah.
And I think he said that they aren't going to help anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, that sitting planted seeds in me of practice in some way. So I went back up to Seattle and I immediately gave notice in the school where I was teaching that when the semester was over, I was going to leave. And I did that was in April.
Yeah. Good timing. Hey, so, where were you born?
In Camden, New Jersey.
And what? How did you get to Seattle? What happened between those two things?
Well, I never lived in Camden. We lived most of my childhood in the South, in Virginia and North Carolina, on the coast. So I had a lot of coastal living with the ocean and all, and a lot of swimming in the ocean. And one time we lived on my father traveled around. He didn't like staying in one place. And one time we were on the peninsula of the Cape Hatteras. And that was like a great place because it was a mile-wide piece of sand. And all the houses on it were just windblown all the time. And the sound on one side was really fun to swim in, and the ocean on the other was really fun also. And so we kids spent a lot of time in the sound with the king crabs and things like that. It was loaded with, this great big round king crabs.
Yeah.
We just had to look out for their tails.
Oh, the horseshoe crabs.
Horseshoe crabs.
Horseshoe crabs, yeah.
We swam with them.
You know those things, horseshoe crabs?
And they're about a foot high.
Yeah, they aren't edible, but they're called horseshoe
we never eat them, and they have a long tail back with spines on it.
Yeah.
Whoa. Wow.
And occasionally we'd meet a moccasin, a cottonmouth.
And Jane's father was the principal in a 2-room schoolhouse.
Yeah, they asked him to come down and start a school for the kids, which he did. And so
no electricity.
Yeah, we had no electricity, and the only thing that brought in anything fresh like canned milk was a bus that would drive along the ocean. Frequently got stuck, and people had to go bring it out, push it out of the sand. That was fun. And the only fresh milk we had was like canned milk. No, my poor mother, though, she had 5. Well, there was just 4 of us there, 4 kids, and and laundry and stuff. And I was in a room with 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And my brothers were with 6th, 7th, and 8th, and my father taught that one. And we were there for a year, and then we went to not Elizabeth City. That was before. We went to not Rodanthe. Where was it? We went to another place where he is teaching school, and it had beautiful poplar trees around the thing. And when the wind blew, the trees made a wonderful sound. And my brother went back there and looked at the place again. And he said all the trees had been taken down. That's really sad. Anyway, it was in North Carolina, and it's a place where my brothers would go hunting in the woods.
What year were you born?
36.
Like Dick.
Yeah, he's about 6 months early. He's an Aries. I was sort of.
So, when did you get your first sort of spiritual, or where did your first inkling come that you wanted to understand life, or maybe were thinking that there's more to it than this, or that sort of thing? Like, where's the root of your way-seeking mind?
I think I was pretty clueless most of the time about everything.
Yeah.
But I really believed in the Catholic religion I was raised in. I really believed about Jesus and Mary, and I really felt a reverence for that. And my parents really gave us a strong education because I was in Catholic schools up until junior high. No, up until after junior high. And the Catholic schools were
but
really
at some point then you went from the 2-room schoolhouse to the Catholic school.
Yeah. And they were really tough. I mean, their standards of study were really high. So when I was in a public school and then I go to a Catholic school, I was almost always behind.
Yeah.
But anyway, mostly I was in Catholic schools up to junior high, and then they moved to Virginia Beach, and so I went to Virginia, Mary Washington College, which was an all-girls school, part of Virginia. Where is it? Virginia. University of Virginia.
Women's college.
I was in women's college for the first semester, which I liked very much, but then it was expensive, so I switched over to University of Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I got my first way-thinking mind from reading. I stopped Christianity when I was about 20. And for about 10 years, I felt like I was drifting with nowhere to alight, no sense of security or sense at all of the world. And I read some books by Camus that really impressed me, especially The Plague. I liked him very much, and I got so interested in reading about him that I started looking for a teacher, and someone gave me a book by a French guy.
Benoit.
Oh, Herbert Benoit, The Supreme Doctrine.
That's right. Someone gave me a book that was a book that was out of it. And I started reading it, and I couldn't put it down because it was like talking to someone who knew exactly what I was going through. And he quoted D.T. Suzuki so much that I got volumes 1 and 2 Zen Buddhism by him, which he praised enormously. So I got them and read them. And when I was reading them, I really, really wanted to find a teacher and find out what he was talking about.
But you're still on the East Coast at that point, right?
I was still on the East Coast, but when I got the Benoit book, I was living in Seattle because I was married. I had married this guy rather abruptly, and
in New York City.
Yeah, in New York City.
Was his name Westberg?
Yeah. And we drove with friends across the country to his hometown in Seattle. But there we took Chinese. We thought we'd go to China. And so we took an advanced course in Chinese with a teacher who was really, really tough. And so we didn't have any life at all for about 3 months.
Yeah, I remember that course because I took intense course in Japanese, but your course was more intense. It was unbelievable. You were learning. I swear, you told me you were having to learn 60 characters a day.
Every night I had to study 60 to 65 characters.
Oh my God, that's impossible. I mean, that's incredible.
It was, but I could do it because I really liked Chinese, and I really wanted to learn it. And so the next day we had to read something with those characters in it. And he would talk to us using those new words.
Oh, my God, that's so impressive.
You were lost. Yeah. But I really loved it. And my husband there, Russ, he didn't like it much at all. And anyway, we split up about the end of that time.
Uh-huh. Now,
he left. He just up and left one day.
one thing you and Bill Lane had in common before you met, I think, was astrology.
Yeah, and I think that's what we ended up talking about. But I didn't know what I was talking about. I just learned a little teeny bit of it.
Really?
Yeah. But I did like it. It's like it was like another new language.
Huh. That's interesting. Because one of your stories about you and Suzuki Roshi is that you went on for 10 minutes about it.
Yeah. And he just started looking at me when I think she said, "You look so serious."
Right. Right. Well,
and,
yeah.
Well, his way of saying things like that made the point so well that he didn't have to say, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
He didn't rewrite it or make fun of it or anything. He just said, "You look so serious when you talk about it." And I thought, oh my God, he's right.
Wow.
Anyway, I loved Suzuki Roshi. I thought he's like a perfect teacher.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. I've stuck with him. Lou Richmond, said he feels that way too. Wow, that really gives me a great picture of you that was lacking. I want to ask, I have a couple of questions.
David, let me tell you, let me prompt Jane to tell you a little more.
Yeah.
Because after she left the university, with a degree in art and education, and she lived in Philadelphia for a while. After she went to masters at Temple University, and then she left and went to New York, and she studied with a great famous printer, and she taught during the day in the poor areas of Brooklyn, children, and then nighttime she'd go and make prints until late in the evening.
Usually 3 or 4 in the morning. Then I'd walk home. I'd walk home and I'd stop at this little coffee house on the way, which I loved. Actually, that's where I met this guy, and struck up a friendship with him, and the marriage didn't last for long.
Peter, one thing I just don't remember well is how the and you might not either, but you were involved with it, how the chants evolved, our service. Because
well, Jane and I know that together. As you remember, David, very well, because you, of course, as you remember back in Sokoji, it was a Heart Sutra 3 times in Japanese, right? And
right.
And then you're the person.
I loved it.
Who made it, and you made a translation.
Me too. The first time I heard the Heart Sutra, the hair on my head stood up.
It was wonderful. It was the most dynamic service chanting I've ever been involved with, was chanting the Heart Sutra 3 times in a row in the Sino-Japanese at Sokoji.
Yeah. I agree.
So I took your copy of the translation of the Heart Sutra, and when I was a Jisha, I had a lot of free time, and I did the wind bell, and I also translated the Heart Sutra. But anyway, Tatsugami was there, And so I had this translation, but I hadn't shown anybody, and everything was so far had been in Japanese, well, Chinese Japanese. And so when Tatsugami was sitting up, the Sandokai and the Daihi Shindarani and such things like that, and the names of the Buddhas, he set that up. And then I said, "Oh, Tatsugami Roshi, here's the Heart Sutra in English." He said, "Oh, we'll use that." And that was the first English that was used at Tassajara.
Yeah, you not only put it in English, I remember talking to you about it when you did it. You put it into English that was chantable. You were very careful. I still think your translation back then was as good as anything. I don't know if I don't know exactly how you stated it, but you were careful to have a translation that could be chanted and that retain the sort of feeling that there was originally.
Yeah, well, I've been a poet, and so on and off in my life, and so I translated like a poet.
Yeah, and it chanted very well. You don't happen to have one of those old chant cards, do you?
No, I don't. But Gary Schneider said to me once. Well, I didn't know Gary very well, but at some point he said to me, when I first read your translation of the Heart Sutra, he said, "I didn't think it was very good," he said. But then he said, "But then I heard it being chanted," he said, and I said, "Oh, this is great."
Yeah.
So he had the same thing you did. Yeah.
But you did that consciously, because I remember talking to you while you were doing it. And I wondered if, I thought, wow, I wonder if it's going to work, what he's got in mind. And it did. So you're saying we didn't have the Daihi Shindarani until Tatsugami came?
Oh, nothing. We only had the Heart Sutra. That was it.
That's what I thought. That's just hard to believe. I mean, it's just hard. That's right. So he introduced all that. Wow.
Yeah. And speaking of which, it was a kind of fait accompli. He had nothing to do with it. He just did it.
Oh, yeah, I know. But he left it, and, people would say, "Oh, this isn't Suzuki Roshi's way," and stuff like that. But then Suzuki would lecture. He lectured on that and the echoes, all the echoes Tatsugami put in.
That's right. He said, "Well, now that we have it, we should do it."
Yeah, we should do it. We should study it and understand it. That was great. All right.
I remember him saying that he felt very sorry for us having to listen to all his talks on the Lotus Sutra, but we really needed them.
I loved them. I love them.
They've, they were very hard to listen to, but the sum total of them that has been, worked in, like what Tim Buckley did with that wind bell, is good,
Yes, it is.
But yes, it was sort of torture while he was giving it sometimes.
It was torture, yeah. It was torture. And Jane and I weren't anyway. So the Sandokai in English had his own wandering history too.
Yeah.
Because in the summer of '71, Jane and I wanted to take a vacation, so we had the transcript that someone had made, and I've forgotten who it was. It may have even been you, David. Anyway, we had the transcript, so we took the transcript and we listened to the tapes and we redid it, and that came out with the first version of that book.
Oh, really? Yeah. I created a whole little study book on it with the English and the kanji and all that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And on the echoes too. And then later on the Fukan Suzingi and the Genjo Koan. When Dick was there. Yeah, yeah. I remember when you went away there, and so you did the English on that. But hey, Peter, the oh the first thing we chanted in English, and we did this pretty early, was the meal chant. That was translated. But do you know who did that?
No, I don't. I don't know the translation. Like, for example, I've often wondered about that because we have it here. We use it here. There are 72 labors brought us this food. You should know how it comes to us, etc. And I have no idea who did that. I also have no. I think I know at least one point Gary Schneider. I mean, I retranslated a lot of things back then. Not a lot, but several things. Small the Gata. We had a small Gata book, and I've done that also. And the Bass Gata and and the plant Gatas and stuff like that. But as far as the beings are numberless, I think that Gary did that part of it.
Well, the one that ends, I had a study of that, and the one that ends with, see now, beings, numbers, the Buddhist way is unsurpassable. I vow to become it. I think that was Dick, because
no, that was me. No, that was me.
That was you?
That was me.
Oh,
but
I remember giving the English to that, I guess to you then. And I was against using become.
Well, anyway, of course, before that, it had been attain it. And also Gary Snyder's version was delusions are inexhaustible. We vow or I vow to put an end to them.
You know what?
Put an end to them.
Buddha's way is insuppressible. I vow to reclaim it.
We haven't had that, but Jay must reclaim it.
Well, the kanji in it, Peter, is to cut.
Well, no, the second one, yeah, of course, yes, it is cut. Don is cut, yeah, and that's why. But and of course, I didn't know I was doing it from dictionaries only at that point.
Yeah,
and of course, the Heart Sutra was also with Yoshimura, with the other teacher, Yoshimura. Yeah, and Yoshimura is the one who set it to the drum.
Oh,
so he and I did that together actually.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's so good to know. What do you remember about him?
And so then we had that drum beat to do it with. It was really great. It wasn't just the mukujo. We used the big drum for it, and he did some beat with it.
Oh,
and we did it to that beat also.
That is cool. That is cool. Wow.
And for a while, it was done that way during the service. I had no idea when it got changed, but
is that right? It was done with the daiko.
Yes, that's exactly the big one that got sent from Japan.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Here's another question. At the ashes ceremony, was Silas there?
Yes, that I don't know.
Who's that?
He'd already left, and I don't remember him being there, and I don't see him in the very few pictures I've got. And I don't expect you to remember. I just thought I'd ask.
No, I don't know.
Yeah,
but I do have a story that would be, I probably told you before, but was very nice story. When Jane and I were off doing the Sandokai, but we were off living with friends of ours who had a very, very, very nice place on the Martha's Vineyard.
Yeah,
and it was there's a famous bridge where the Kennedy accident happened.
Yeah, I know.
And we lived across that bridge.
Right.
And across the bridge there's only like a one cottage and our two houses.
Yeah.
And so they invited us, because I knew them from the university, to live with them for the summer, which we did. But then when we were there, we got a phone call saying about, that we were to go up to Vermont because of the death of
Marge Brandon. Yeah,
yes, Brandon, right.
Yeah.
And so we went up there, and we helped Ricky Roshi, and we helped him do the chanting, and he was there just a couple of days, and then he said, you should stay with this lady, which we did.
You mean June McKnight?
Yeah, we stayed there.
She was very distraught.
2 or 3 months. She gave us a house, and she actually wanted us to settle there, but of course we were students, not teachers, and so we didn't do that. But we could have had a house in Vermont. But anyway, so then we got a phone call, from San Francisco, that Suzuki was dying. So we dropped everything. It was early October, I think.
Oh, yeah.
He had the first frost in Vermont, in the mountains, kind of like mountains, not true mountains, but in the forest area. And so we left immediately, and we came back. And then I saw Suzuki Roshi only one time, actually, during that time.
I saw him only once, too.
But during that time, the first thing Silas was supposed to be president when Dick went, and then Dick changed his mind. He decided to make me president, and Silas got kind of burned by it.
I thought Silas was president when Dick left.
Well, he was, but then it got changed over anyway. I don't remember. I was not involved in the changing. I was but when he was president for a short time, but not very long at all. Because so by 71 in the fall, he left.
No,
it wasn't around.
No,
well, it wasn't around. Anyway,
no.
The first thing
he did not leave in 71.
Okay, I'm wrong about that. But he wasn't around the center.
Yeah, he went up to toward the end, before Suzuki Roshi died, he went up to Quadra Island, but he didn't leave till 72, when Dick just he and Dick just were on opposite poles.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Exactly. But anyway, that was very hard for him, actually.
Yeah.
But anyway, the first thing Suzuki said to me was, "How is Silas?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was very impressed with that.
It's one of the last things he said before he died. He said to Mitsu that night, he said, it couldn't have been right then. He wanted to, he said, I want to talk to Silas. He was very concerned about it, but he put everything off too much. And then he learned that Silas had gone to Quadra Island. And Silas had gone to visit him, but Suzuki was asleep, so Silas just sat with him and left.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. He told Jerry Fuller, don't worry when I'm gone, you have Dick and Silas. He really should have, he wanted to give a bunch of you transmission, but he just didn't realize he was going to die so quick. That's, Tim Buckley and Emma got together, and where did they were married by Harry Roberts. Was that?
Yes. Yeah, I remember. I was at that wedding. Yeah.
I was there. Do you remember when that was?
Well, of course, we left in in '73, spring of '73. It was. So I don't remember. I have a feeling it was like in '70 or '71.
He took a picture of you and me sitting there, and I had his hat on my head.
Oh, really?
Remember?
Yeah.
And it said something that was a sign that was really funny.
Oh.
And I was wearing fall clothing.
Yeah. It's before we were married, for certain.
Yeah.
Because I got the idea, because when we got married, we asked Dick and Virginia and who was the president after me? Yvonne came out to our wedding.
Yeah.
In Vermont. You see, we went back to Vermont to get married because the place we lived in the year prior to that, and so we could have the wedding for free, and we could get and so anyway we had but they came out and they brought with them salmon, which we asked them to do because having salmon back then was a big deal. So they brought a couple of California salmon. Mom brought with her a couple of salmon on the airplane, and then we had that for our wedding meal.
So you got married in Vermont?
Yeah.
We got married in Vermont because Peter's grandmother was 95 just about, and my mother had just had a serious operation and she was still recuperating. And they could come up to Vermont, but I don't think they could have made it to California.
And June McKnight had an airplane, and so she flew up Jenny's parents.
Yeah.
And my parents were already in New England.
And she flew back.
Yeah.
So Suzuki Roshi flew out to marry you in Vermont.
No. Dick Baker. Suzuki Roshi had died.
Oh.
Dick and Virginia and Yvonne came out to do
after
fundraising.
Suzuki Roshi died, you all went back to Vermont.
No, we went back just to get married.
To get married, yeah.
Because you just went to get married. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Bradken's son,
Jay.
What's his name again? Jay gave a van to us to Zen Center so that we could drive it from Vermont to San Francisco.
Oh, I remember that. I had forgotten all about that.
We drove up through Canada with a tent.
Yeah.
And all kinds of stuff.
And then of course, then we went and met the shaman in South Dakota. Had a nice time with him. Heavy Crow Dog, and camped with them. Camped in the Avocado Sioux village or area. There's no village actually, but where they lived, and spent 3 days with them, and then went to Yosemite and et cetera, and Devil's Tower and all the sites on the way across the top of the country.
Huh. Now,
and then after 3.5 weeks, Yvonne telephoned us. She was still the president, and she said, we need you back here. And we said, okay, and we ended our honeymoon and came back, but they didn't need us at all. But it didn't matter. We'd seen all. We'd actually gotten to the final thing to see. Actually, we were at the Grand Tetons, what she called.
Oh yeah. Oh, you were at the Grand Tetons. Wow.
Yeah, in fact, we put up our tent at the base of Devil's Tower.
Devil's Tower too. Yeah, that was great too.
Oh, the famous place from Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah, it's before that. We didn't even know that it was there. We just went past it, and
the greats always stopped
there, and camped for a couple of days. Yeah, we just went across the country.
Wow. Now, men and women I'm not clear on. I mean, sometimes it seems like men and women were separated in the Zendo but mainly not. Do you remember how that evolved?
I think in the first 2 or 3 years they were, at least.
Yeah.
The women were sitting in the center and men were on the sides.
Oh.
At one point.
Oh, uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Or there's another way too was with men on one side and then women on the other side.
Yeah.
What changed was when the in between the practice periods, very few people were there, so the women started sitting on the outside with the men facing.
Because I was looking, I was sitting on the altar, and although somehow I didn't lose my job facing. Well, I don't know how that worked out. I guess I was sitting on the altar again because of being Suzuki Shisha. But anyway, I was sitting on the altar and I was looking at Jane, who was way down the line, but on the same line. Not when I was sitting with Tatsugami, but before that.
Uh-huh.
Remember my foot hanging out? Remember my foot hanging out there?
Yeah. What happened to your foot? I remember you hurt yourself.
Yeah. It was a really silly story, but anyway, there was a time when people would go down to the Narrows, and they'd sit in full lotus, and then they'd be thrown into the Narrows.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do it, but Dan talked me into it, and I did it, and I hurt my knee. And so I pulled the cartilage, and so my knee, I couldn't straighten it. I couldn't squat in it,
Yeah.
So
you
therefore,
couldn't cross your legs.
With my left leg out, hanging almost over the tongue.
No, it was over the tongue.
And for a while anyway, certainly several months. And then in the summer, maybe the summer of '69, I had surgery, or 70, one of the two. Tatsugami said, "You can't sit that way anymore," something like that.
Yeah,
which was right. But I was, I had surgery twice, but that was the first one.
Ooh.
Before Tatsugami.
Mm.
You said you couldn't sit that way with your leg out.
I did though.
Well,
I didn't sit in the chair.
I remember a talk where she talked about being sincere in practice, so much so that you would sit any way you could. Yeah. And he gave you as the example.
Well, I sat that way, yeah.
Really? You still always sat.
I sat so she didn't know the leg out. That's all. Yeah.
And he thought that was very admirable.
That's the first time I heard that story.
Even when you were hurt, you still sat.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Even with your leg out. He said he thought that was very nice.
I just couldn't bend my knee, that's all.
Yeah.
So I had the cartilage taken out.
Mm.
That's what they did back then.
And what was the effect or the result of that?
It worked very well for a long time. I was able to sit full lotus. Right. But then when I was the Shuso, I was sitting next to Tatsugami on the other side of the altar. Suzuki Roshi was on the north side.
But Suzuki Roshi didn't sit with Tatsugami.
No, when he came down for ceremonies.
Well, maybe for your Shuso ceremony.
So Tatsugami was on one other side, and I had to sit next to him, and he would give those long hour-and-a-half lectures because of the translation, and I couldn't move, and that shot my other leg.
Oh, well.
So then I had that operated on too.
Gee, Peter.
And then, so I lost one to the Narrows and one to Tatsugami, and now I use but I sat all through Japan full lotus, and then ultimately it began to bother me, and then I had some illnesses, and so I was about to have an operation on that second leg, which was but then I couldn't. So my operation got postponed, and now I'm living with a cane, like all old people.
Yeah, I should use a cane, but
Yeah,
I don't yet.
I have to. I have to use a cane.
But
Otherwise, it walk. Yeah.
there's one doctor I see here, and when I walk into her office, she says, "Do you use a cane?" I mean, she just watches me walk, right?
Yeah.
I say, "No," and she said, "Well, I think you should use a cane." Huh?
Well, you're just about 80. Are you 80 now, David?
79. And how old are
Yeah.
you?
Well, now I'm 86.
86.
So,
You don't happen to remember when the walk-in cooler was built down below, do you? I mean, I'll ask Paul about that. But
no, I don't.
yeah.
No, I don't. I know it's true. It got built. Yeah. I loved working on the kitchen though.
Oh yeah.
You were probably one of the guys that did it then.
Me?
No. Did it.
No, I didn't work on building the kitchen.
Yeah, the foundry, the foundation, and the wall.
No, I never worked on that.
Yeah, well, a bunch of us did. They still segregated men and women. Dan did, and Niels did, and Paul. I don't know if Paul was doing a lot of stuff.
Well, Niels and Paul were. Niels was very involved with it. Yeah.
He designed it. Yeah. So this probably the fall of '67.
Yeah. That's when Nils came in, fall of '67, and then, Paul discovered Nils had studied Danish joinery.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and they got a book though, a Japanese joinery book, and worked it all out with that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Paul, Nils and Paul were very involved together with it. But I never was involved in building a kitchen. Yeah. I was in the dining room, I don't know, and other things.
You were probably in the dining room, yeah. That was you were dining room during guest season, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
You were the head there.
Yeah. Well, that.
But this was outside of gift season, so you must have been. Were you there in the fall of '67?
Yeah.
Well, and somehow you didn't work in the kitchen. But you probably worked in the dining room. You're probably right. I mean, in the kitchen itself.
Well, I came in like March of '67. I was living there. Actually, first time I came was in February, and I was living there. When there was only when I first came, I don't know, a dozen people, and then just I watched everybody arrive, and I was working in the kitchen until Ed came. I was really doing most of the cooking.
Oh, really? No,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
A lot of it. I really loved it. And it was fun. I didn't have any experience, except I'd lived with Loring. But I made crazy casseroles and different things. And then when Ed came, he clearly was in charge, and I helped him some. But then right away, Dick asked me to get he wanted me to run the dining room. And
this would have been in May and June, yeah.
Oh no, but he asked, in May and June to run it, but he asked me like in April, right?
Oh, okay.
And Ed might have come in like mid-April, and so
I thought Ed had come before that. I didn't realize that.
Oh well, he lived there the year before with the Beck.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, but he didn't come back. After he left with the Becks in like October, when the guests left, and then he didn't come to Tassajara until a couple of weeks before the first guest season, like mid-April.
I see. Yeah, that's what Jane and I mid-April, April and May.
Yeah. And then I was just on getting the dining room stuff ready. I was going out and doing research, and I went to L.A. a couple of times and to San Francisco, and I got and Jenny chose Jenny chose everything, like the plates, the tablecloths, and everything, and I was.
Oh, really? No.
Oh yeah, Jenny did all that. Jenny was the aesthetics, and Paul redid the room. Jenny was the aesthetics, and I figured out a lot about where to get food and where to get things we needed. I got the curtain, the napkin rings. I got bamboo from the docks in San Francisco and soaked them for 2 weeks in the linseed oil, and stuff like that. But, yeah. And then that guest season started, and then the practice period, and then another guest season. That was cool. I liked it. And you said people were complaining about you and didn't want you to be director. I don't remember any complaints about you.
I never asked about why. I just said, all right, yeah. I was not attached to being director. I was a bit. I came down on Suzuki's request, but it was of course just trying to catch me again to be business manager for the guest season. That's why I came.
Yeah, you were office manager.
Yeah, that's the right term for it. Yeah, office manager. And I was in the office with Tim Burkett's wife.
Hey, it's been great talking to you guys. Is there anything else? I'm sure I'll think of something else right away.
Well, I hope your book comes out before we're gone.
Yeah, that's the way I feel too. I've thought about saying I want to publish the audiobook right away. Really happy you're still plugging away and everything, and so active. It's terrific.
Yeah, we're still teaching. We still have our group, and we're now working on the having one of our members is there was a problem because we are getting old, obviously, and we also didn't have enough savings to just keep staying in the house. We would have to sell it. So it was a big quandary. But then one of the people that we had made a priest, and I talked about it. And he was living in Minneapolis, and he's good at making money. Not like he's rich at all, but he's good at it. And we decided that some way that he would move out here, and that's when he put the trailer here, right? And so we have a trailer, and then we'll have an apartment, and then we're leaving, and of course about Enfield Village.
Oh yes.
Okay, well, we're involved. Well, not really involved, but we were around at the beginning of Enso Verde, which is just 25 minutes from us, in not in the next county, but right, very, very close.
You mean the Southern California Enso Village?
That's right. Yeah. It's called Enso Verde is the name they gave it. So they've accepted that Jane and I can be our graduate teachers there.
Cool. That is great. You've been involved with Susan O'Connell, probably.
That's it, of course. Yes.
Yeah,
She's the one.
I did a podcast with her recently, and that's when I first learned about Southern California Enso Village. And the Zen Center is a part owner of it.
Yes, they are. Yeah, it's
wow.
Yeah.
My.
So anyway, that worked out very nicely. So we can, with the help of our student who will be helping, he'll get the group will get the house, but he'll get the use of the house for as long as he wants it. Our house is 3,000 square feet, and the middle of the house is the Zendo. You've never been here, I don't think, but Paul Diskin had towns made for us and altar. Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah. So it looks like a Zen center.
Wow.
And the door, we have doors. We have doors made by Paul also.
Wow.
And we have a Han made by Paul, and we have an altar made by Paul. So,
wow. I didn't
these
know
are all
these.
Donated to us.
And
Very nice, Paul.
It's Northridge Zen Center?
Yeah. Well, no. One of our members got us to change. No, we actually call ourselves Beginner's Mind Zen Center.
Oh, yeah, of course. I know that. It was Northridge a long time ago. But
yeah, we started out at Northridge.
Yeah,
first 5 years.
Beginner's Mind. I remember you got permission from Zen Center to use that. I thought that was awfully polite of you.
Yeah, well, I didn't really. I was not quite that foolish. I got permission with a couple of board members.
Yeah,
that's all I needed was that.
Yeah, that's the
and
way
no
to do it.
one's ever complained. Of course, when we started, I didn't know that they were calling that the Daibo Satsu Zendo had become the Beginners. With the same name, but that's called Temple. So they're the Temple, and we're the Zen Center.
Beginner's Mind Zen Center. Yeah, nobody owns that. Beginner's Mind.
Yeah.
You're welcome to use it. It's ancient.
Yeah, it's ancient, and we were there with you, so that counts.
Yeah, but it goes back to before Dogen.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Oh, really? What's that? Where's it come from?
Well, I know it comes from Dogen, and I have a vague memory that it comes from before Dogen. You know who would know? I could just send an email to Teigen Dan Layden. He's really great.
He would know. Sure. Yeah.
So is there actual in-person sitting there?
So we used to have up to 20 people, but then the pandemic hit.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
So now we're slowly rebuilding. That's the idea, is to kind of rebuild. So we have an active membership, but mostly online, and like for example Minneapolis, for example. But people have just started coming back, so I think it'll be going again. By the time we leave in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and so are you giving the house to the group or what? How are you doing that?
We're giving the house to the group with a contract being made that for our support.
Yeah.
That the member who will take our place will have the use of the house as long as he wants it.
Yeah.
And we haven't had a board meeting about that, but we're going to have it soon.
Yeah. And do you all
it's
both?
the only way to keep it open.
Do you attend Zazen there?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's the same guy who.
I mean,
he and his wife.
Well, wait a minute. You're still living there, right?
Yes, yeah.
Pardon me. I was. My mind was in two different time zones then. Yeah.
So he and his wife are the couple that helped us change our kitchen around. They smashed up the old kitchen for us, and then they helped us put in all the new things.
But when will you be moving to Enso?
When it opens, and right now that plan is for late 27.
2027?
Yeah.
Oh,
late 2027.
That's a way down the road.
It's a way down the road, so who knows?
Yeah.
But anyway.
I have rent paid here till 2031. Because it's such a
Good
nice
thinking,
place, and it's so extremely cheap, and yet everything's going up, you know. Well, all right. Well, that's all good to hear. That's all very interesting to hear. I'm glad you added that. You know, I'd forgotten to ask you about the group or anything.
Yeah.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Okay. Well, it's been good.
It's been great, David.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Talk to you.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah. Y'all take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, Jane and Peter Schneider. Really appreciate it. Wow. Yeah, you all, I've been following your path, your stories for a long time, and pretty impressive. Thanks a lot. This has been a Cuke Audio podcast. I'm DC, Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from Sleepy Sanur with Doggy Bandita, Feline Manicita, and dear lovely Katrinka. And we're wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.